Welcome back. Coach Jay here. Today I'm going to talk about why I think boring and uninteresting is often better than exciting and stimulating. Let's get to that. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between fat loss training and skill training or sports training, athletic performance training. When I do a fat loss program, it's very, very basic. It's very simple. And there's a food component, there's an accountability component, and there's an activity component. And I've talked at length about the difference of importance between those two. If someone comes to me and says, "Hey, coach, I want to train for a Spartan race, or I want to, I want to do a jiu-jitsu competition, or I have a volleyball tournament here, or I want to do a physique competition, or something very specific," the training takes a little bit different turn. A lot of trainers spend a lot of time with their exercise programming there's two things that happen. They try to do a whole lot of variety for two reasons. One is because they want to look super knowledgeable. Like, I'll look at all the nifty things that I can make you do and how much weird equipment I can get you to stand on or to lean on or to sit on that makes you think I am cutting edge and I have this amazing knowledge. That's one element. I see that a lot. The second thing is clients often get really bored of training methodology that's consistent and doesn't change very much. So for fat loss, I think there's a lot of value to changing the exercise program up and putting a lot of variety into it, because the results we're measuring are how much body fat you're losing, and that is not necessarily a performance based result. It's a measurement based result, and results matter. I'm a big fan of getting results. However, when someone says I have to prepare for an event, whether it's a wedding, well, if it's a wedding, probably just fat loss, but if it's a competition, it's a very physically demanding activity. Maybe they're going for a 30-mile weekend hike with their friends, so they want to make sure they're in shape for that. That's a different methodology altogether in the programming, and there will usually be a cycle to that. Like, okay, we're starting at day one. It's 10 weeks before the event happens. So for the first 3 or 4 weeks, we have a training methodology. Then maybe we shift gears. We either go from a general conditioning start to a strength training start, or vice versa. But it's way more mechanical. It's not as geared on excitement and stimulus as much as it is on results, measurable results. Results that can be replicated. That's how we do that. So it's really important to understand that if I'm going to measure results on a athletic performance basis, I have to have something that's consistently measurable. So like how much weight you can lift in a certain lift is something I can measure. How many push-ups you can do in a certain amount of time, something I can measure. How many pull-ups you can execute before failure is something I can measure. So those are the things that go into an athletic performance program, a regime, if you will. And it often becomes a little bit mundane, at least to the average person. But it depends on what's driving you. Again, if your main goal, if your main driver is I need to be ready for this thing, then you're going to be okay with doing repetitive exercises and for that cycle or that sub-cycle of the workout. For my own personal workouts, they're really boring. I don't do anything with Bosu balls. I don't do strange plyometric stuff in between sets. So my training and most of the training I do for athletic performance kind of breaks into three categories. We have strength training, which is usually weight training, but it could be body weight, or it could be TRX or something like that. Then there's kind of like a general conditioning training, which is like your whole body. Your I think they call it Metcon in CrossFit. Basically, I'm working all my body systems. I'm working my endurance. I'm working some mild strength. I'm really just making sure that my heart, lungs, everything's functioning correct. And then you have your skill training if it's a competition. So, like for example, if somebody wanted to do martial arts competition, then they could train with us because that's what we do. If somebody's like, hey, you know what, I have a big volleyball tournament coming up in a few weeks. 6 weeks, and I want to be ready for that. Well, I can do the general conditioning, and I can do the strength training, but I don't know much about the sport of volleyball other than like the bare bones of how it's played. So I wouldn't be the source to go to for the skill training. I generally don't like to mix those training methodologies up. So I would not have somebody do a weight training session and then do a skill training session in the same session. There would be a split to that. There would be a recovery to that. I generally don't have somebody do a strength training session combined with a general conditioning session. A lot of trainers will have their athletes do skill training and general conditioning kind of in the same workout. Like if your typical martial arts class is going to be some body weight conditioning, you have your calisthenics, or you have drills that are like whole body drills, and then you'll shift into a skill training where you'll do either jiu-jitsu or you'll do kickboxing or karate or whatever the activity is. And so that's okay. I mean, I prefer to keep skill training with skill training, but that's my own personal preference. But my point of this message is, if I have someone who's training for fat loss, as I mentioned before, the kind of activity they do is very unimportant to the end result of losing body fat. So really, as a trainer, my goal is to find activities that they like enough that they will do without a lot of duress. So it might require me to do different interesting things. Maybe we jog one day, or we go for a hike, or we'll do plyometric drills one day, or we'll do some interval training, whatever it is. But for an athletic event or a specific physically demanding event, there needs to be more thought into the programming. There needs to be a start, an end, and lots of progress checks along that path. What you don't want to do is do a 12-week training cycle and then realize in week 11 that you're not any better off than you were when you started. So you have to have things that are measurable. So as an instructor, as a coach, my preference is kind of boring, consistent exercises that are result oriented, that get results. So that's how I roll. And I hope that makes sense to you guys. So body fat loss, guys, super simple. Monitor and adjust the intake of calories with nutrient dense foods, and provide an activity outlet. Pretty much it. All right. If you like the content you're getting here and you find value in it, I would like to ask you to subscribe to the channel, like the video that you just watched, or maybe the other ones you've seen, and even hit that bell notification on the channel. That helps us get a little more traffic out into the YouTube world. So again, Coach Jay out. Thanks for watching. I'll catch up with you soon.